What up? What up? What up? What's going on, everybody? Mario here, Infighting Exchange, Infighting FX. Hold up. I'm gonna turn on the light real quick. What's going on, everybody? Mario here, Infighting FX, Infighting Exchange, and yeah, it's about 2 o'clock. Little behind. You know how we do. You know that Mungia time runs sharp. So yeah, we're doing boxing first hour of the day. A lot of different stories coming out. All right, there we go. A lot of different stories coming out right now. Boxing has basically flooded the market with some stories and different things like that. We're going to be talking about first and foremost, or will we be discussing Derek Chisora, who looks to be fighting Wilder on April 2026 in the UK. Now, if you didn't know, then it's because you haven't been watching the show. Abe Gonzalez had spoken about the Wilder date. Brunch Boxing, shout out to them. They reported this fight. They had announced it, or they had published the story on it. And yeah, it looks like it's happening at the same time. I don't know what to say about it, because it's like we heard Wilder and Joshua for a while. We heard Wilder and Usyk more recently. Wilder and Ngannou was a fight that people had mentioned. And now this Derek Chisora fight comes out. And I'll be honest, I think this fight makes more sense than all the rest. There was no aspect of me that wanted to see Deontay Wilder fight again. I honestly don't think that, other than his power, he doesn't really possess a lot of skill. I don't think that he's the kind of fighter that is capable of creating different fight scripts to win. I don't think he's the kind of fighter that makes adjustments very well. I think he's the kind of fighter that has one big right hand, and it might be the biggest right hand in the history of boxing. But that doesn't matter when you start to get older. Like, you can't depend on the physical attributes that separated you from other guys before, right? So if like you're Deontay Wilder and power is like your really only true elite level asset, then you're behind the 8 ball. Derek Chisora, on the other hand, has been getting work in. Derek Chisora, on the other hand, he ain't been playing, bro. Wilder's out there doing ayahuasca and fucking taking care of other people's kids. I'm just playing. Shout out to him for that. That's dope. He out here, doing all that. Meanwhile, my man Derek Chisora got 3 wins in a row. Beat Gerald Washington, right? And that was after the Tyson Fury fight. So that's a good win, right? That's a comeback fight. Gerald Washington is that level. Then he beat Joe Joyce. All right. In a fight that very few people gave Joyce the chance to win. Or a lot of people thought Derek Chisora was going to come in and beat him. I mean, I'm sorry. A lot of people thought that this was going to be Joe Joyce's fight, coming back after losing twice to Zhang. And so Derek Chisora has revitalized his career, at this late stage in his life. He's 42 years old, guys, 42 years old. And listen, I don't know how long, some people in my community have been watching boxing for like 10 years, some people for 5 or so. Some people got into it because of like fighters like Teofimo or Tank, right? So their reference points aren't as deep. So, which is okay, right? But if you're not aware of a guy like Derek Chisora, for the last almost decade, he's just been, or over a decade, really, he has been, one of the more consistent forces at the heavyweight division. Okay. Just, going through his resume just real quick. Okay. Uh, he fought and beat Sam Sexton, by the way. He took Sam Sexton's, who was a decent club fight or regional fighter um, in the UK. I think he's from Norfolk. But Sam Sexton, he beat him. That was his like fifth fight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Beat Tony Booth too, who's like legendary, like old school. I mean, not legendary, but he's just like a club fighter that, is real fun. UK, used to love that guy. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna get into the real names, okay? Uh by the way, he beat Sam Sexton twice. So he fought Tyson Fury 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15th fight. It was his 15th pro fight. He fought Tyson Fury, did Derek Chisora. Okay. Then you move on to Robert Helenius, right? And some of these names I feel like people hate on, but it's like you have to give just due to the heavyweight era that was the Klitschko's, right? And in that era, there were guys that were decent heavyweight fighters. They were good, they just weren't as qualified as either Klitschko brother. And Robert Helenius was one of those guys. Certainly somebody who was tough and made for strong fights. Everybody remembers his fight or his last fight, right? Everybody remembers that. Which is fair. So Robert Helenius, he fought Vitali, he fought David Hay, he fought Malik Scott, he fought Kevin Johnson, Tyson Fury again. I don't know who these guys are at all. And that was the other thing is he stayed busy, bro. Stayed busy throughout his career. You know what I mean? Like he didn't wait around. He fought Pulev, lost to Pulev. Caballero, he lost to as well. Takum, he beat. Dillian White, he lost to. Beat Arthur Spilka, David Price, lost to Usyk, lost to Parker, beat Pulev, lost to Fury, beat Joe Washington, Joe Joyce, and then his last fight against Otto Wallin was last February. And that's a big time difference. That's a big gap for sure. That's a big gap. But what does this fight represent? Deontay Wilder, Derek Chisora. We're going to talk about that one. We're also going to get into some of the recent comments that were made by Coppinger as it relates to the De La Hoya Virgil Ortiz lawsuit. We're going to get into that. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the Muratalla fight with Cruz, what it represents. We're going to look at the card, what fights on there that are necessary for us to keep our eyes on, what fighters, fighting up the ranks are on the card. Yeah. And so we're going to do all of that. But first and foremost, we're going to start with the big topic of the day, Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez. The odds are out. The odds are out. Hold on. Let me just get my bookmarks. Oh, you know what? I'll just do it on X. Okay. So, oops. If anybody wants to jump on, I'm putting the link up early today because I won't be on for a while. And those just and remember, I am going to be what the fuck, dude? No, I don't want you. I am going to be What the fuck, dude? What are you doing? No, I don't want you to. I don't need your help. All right, links up on Twitch and YouTube. I'll put on X too. You know what? I'll put on IG because I forgot to go live on IG. So if you go to the chat in the X video link, the StreamYard link you see, can I pin this? Damn, dude, X sucks with this shit. You can go on there and click the link to join. Shout out to everybody on early. So anyway, let's get to it. Shakur and Teofimo, the odds are out. What do you guys think? Are they fair? Are they reflective of what you believe the kind of fight we're going to see? All I know is there's some crash outs. There are already some crash outs, and we got to look at it. So Boxing Kingdom, shout out to Boxing Kingdom. They have Teo Lopez currently sitting at a plus 240. Yeah, he's a plus 240, which makes him an underdog. That means that if you bet $100, you're going to win $240. So it's like 2.5 to 1 on your money. Now, one thing Boxing Kingdom did here. Oh, y'all can't even see it. What the fuck? Oh, that's not much better. The one thing Boxing Kingdom did here is they. Hold on, let me see if I could zoom in and maybe that will be better. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so the one thing that Boxing Kingdom did here is remind us that Teo was also the outsider in his biggest career wins against Vasily Lomachenko and Josh Taylor. Very well done, Boxing Kingdom. Very well done. I will say this, though. I will say this. You know what? Let me leave it up. Fuck it. So I will say this. Look, they're right. Boxing Kingdom is right. Teofimo Lopez came into the betting odds for Lomachenko and Teo were way harsher, way significantly harsher. So Lomachenko was a significant betting favorite with getting between minus 400 and minus 450. Now, for those that aren't up to the lingo or the context of betting, that means that you would have to bet $400 to win $100 if you could somehow magically hop in the DeLorean and travel back to that night. Why you wouldn't put it on Teo, I don't know, but yeah, it would cost you $400 to $450 to make $100 on that night that Loma fought Teo. Now Teo won that fight, and Teo was sitting at a plus 275, which is about 3 to 1 almost. But some Vegas odds makers had him as high as plus 350 underdog, meaning, again, if you bet $100, you win 350 if you bet on Teo. Now, Teo coming in at a 3 to 1, 3.5 to 1 underdog against Loma at that time, it doesn't seem off. It doesn't seem like the Vegas odds makers didn't have it right. First of all, that was a very close fight. I think enough time has passed that we could all get out of our feelings about who we thought won it, or who won, or what we thought was going to happen, or you know what I mean, things like that. We could go and we could look and we could say it was a close fight. You know what I mean? I think I did score it for Loma the first time I watched it, if I'm not mistaken. But I scored it for Teo, or no, I scored it a draw the second time I watched it, And then we did a watch along. It was like Ness and Doomy and me, and I don't remember who else. And I ended up scoring it for Tio. And that to me tells you how close that fight is. So many swing rounds that I feel like people were so eager to give to one fighter or the other, when it was like, dude, I get it. He did this thing in round 7. He did this thing in round 8. But again, it's the totality of the round, right? I saw Clarissa Shields throw out, I don't know if it was a shot or not. I don't know if it was a shot, but she basically said something along the lines of, yo, I forgot T.O. even fought Loma. And that is it. Listen to me. That is the crux of this whole situation. Okay. When you ask yourself, by the way, okay, before we get into that, let me just show you real quick. Punch is like losing his fucking mind, dude. I love the guy, and he'll always be somebody that I appreciate as a content creator. But bro, he is like crashing out so bad. All right. So I'm gonna show you this, but I'm gonna tell y'all, okay, go and sub to my boy Punch Drunk Boxing if you're not already. In fact, this is my other account. Okay, so don't trip. Oh, you weren't even following him. I am following him on my actual channel that I actually use. That is not just for, or it's like my personal account. Okay, and I've also known Punch for like years. So, shout out to Punch. His it's Mr. Moonshine on 10. I forgot he went by Mr. Moonshine. Why did he go back and forth? That's weird. Okay. What a random thing for Jermel Charlo to put out. What the fuck is this? Yo, what is Jermel Charlo even talking about? I will never fight my brother? What is this in response to? Tensions are rising between the Charlo brothers. Could we see the pair settle their difference in the ring? Wait, what the fuck? All right, this is crazy, bro. I don't even get it. Yo, that's crazy, because you know what else happened? You know what else happened, bro? I don't know if y'all caught this or not. But the Vargas brothers got into a fight. Y'all heard about this? The Vargas brothers got into a fight too. All right, we're gonna show you that here in just a bit. I meant to show y'all that the other day, but I didn't see that though. Oh, are you talking about Keon? Hey, shout out to Wilfred. Appreciate you in the chat, champ. Hey, shout out to Tony. Thank you, Marissa, for the follow and the like. I appreciate it. I'm also live right on TikTok, guys. Nah, let me see. What was it? Send me a link. Oh, you're talking about the Keon stray. Bro, Keon caught that stray, bro. The Bills are having like the worst of it right now, bro. Like, real quick, pause. We're just gonna like pause the show right quick. Bro, y'all seen that? Y'all seen what's going on with the Bills? Oh my God. I've never seen a game just cripple a franchise like this. I've never seen the and granted, it was a crazy, wild outcome. You could play the Bills in Denver could play 10 more times this year, and they'll never duplicate that game again. That was I'm not saying it was a fluke like Denver shouldn't have won. I'm just saying like that was very fluky in the way that it happened, right? Uh, you go and you fire McDermott, and listen, I don't think that you had to fire McDermott. I don't think he's done a bad job. I think he's done a great job. I think that when you look at what the Bills franchise was before he came in, it's clear that he's had success. That said, I do understand his firing. I've worked in this business long enough that I know that when you don't produce for your fan base, especially when they were this, everybody was saying this was the year for the Bills. Everybody was saying that, Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs, like this was like the season to pick them apart. This was their season, the Bills. And despite the fact that they didn't have a great offseason, Billy Bean's bro up there, really didn't gift them. He left them with a lot more holes than I thought we were just going to get. You know what I'm saying? And so, the owner comes out today because like McDermott gets fired and Bean is basically like sitting there like, what do you want from me? You know what I mean? It's crazy, bro. This is the fucking, listen to me. This is the team's GM. All right. And not only that, this is like fucking brother shit over here. You know what I mean? You ain't seen Moneyball. You don't know what I'm talking about, but go watch it and then I'll explain it to you later. But it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. That one play may have completely altered the landscape of GMs in the NFL and one of the most successful franchises of this decade in the Buffalo Bills. Next year is going to be a very interesting year for them. But anyway, shout out to you. So yeah, I got thrown off on this. Can't believe my own brother. This is Jermel Charlo, who I guess tweeted or put this on social media. Can't believe my own twin brother. Motherfucker was on there talking like that because of jealousy. Cain killed Abel, right? Motherfucker should have fought Canelo then. Now look at boxing. Them psychedelics got the best of him. Early bird gets the worm. We are not the same. Money Mel. Bro, that's harsh, dog. He said maybe the psychedelics got the best of him, champ. First of all, let's pause that talk right quick. All right. First of all, let's pause that talk. Let's pause that talk right quick. Okay. Real quick, just real quick. Let's pause that talk because psychedelics have a lot of good qualities to them. All right. Especially if you microdose and you find the right. Like I've had friends that have been in combat. I have family that was in Afghanistan and Iraq and saw war combat. And, psychedelics have helped them. Microdosing ketamine has helped them. I have other friends, I wouldn't say friends, but from my time working the political beat and as a researcher, and also as my time as a young idiot, I've known a lot of guys that were on one side or the other in the cartel wars, basically. Like either they were sheriffs or, police, border patrol, ICE, whatever. They see crazy shit all the time, dude. Crazy shit all the time. Kids who have expired out in the fucking desert because they tried to make a 4-day trek, through crazy hostile conditions. Like that shit fucks with your brain. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that it's wrong to deport people who are here illegally, right? Especially if they've committed crimes and they haven't abide by, this country's idealisms. That said, though, I also know if you just stopped immigration tomorrow, it would fuck our economy up completely. Um, but the point that, oh shit, yeah, that was the other one, dude. Thank you for sending that to me. I didn't see who it was. No, I don't think that was. I don't think it is. It's Marcus, I think. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Stratton. I think it is. Appreciate you for the sub, brother, or sister. I don't know. So anyway, we got fucking thrown off, or I got thrown off. Okay, so yeah, that's crazy that he's talking about this stuff, right? The psychedelics and everything. Uh, I don't think that this was like a cool post, right? Like, boxing scene has gotten very internety. Like, when I first started in this game, like, there were premier websites, right? Like, Max Boxing was amazing. The Ring Magazine, obviously. You had Box 24. What was the Filipino one? WBS? I forgot. But you had a bunch of people, and don't get me wrong, not all journalists that work at every single website was great, but there were professionals, right? Journalists. Like, this is a cheap ass fucking comment, bro. Let's be honest. Y'all took this man's fighting with his bro and insisted that they might fight in the ring. But good on Mel saying he'll never fight his brother. Yo, I would lose respect for them if they fought each other. Real talk. I would lose respect for them. Like, everybody's fought their brother. If you have a brother and y'all are close enough, y'all fought. Me and my brother fought before. I mean, we never like beat the shit out of each other like fist fight, but like wrestling or like, you know what I mean? I mean, we've thrown shots at each other, just like never to hurt the other one. You know what I mean? More just like, you know, to piss the other one off. But we had this situation like fully locked down where nobody thought brothers were fighting each other. And now all of a sudden you're posting bullshit like that, whatever. All right. So back to what we were talking about. Shakur and Tio, the crazy odds that we're seeing. Are they even that crazy? Wait, is this the shitty? Oh yeah, right here. Okay, so shout out to my boy Punch Drunk. All right, shout out to him for real, for real. All right, this isn't meant to be a situation where I'm like clowning or anything like that. I just want to explain, you know, the situation. Okay, so Punch says the hate of Teofimo has changed. How many analyze? Oh, wait, my bad. The hate of Teofimo has changed how many analyze boxing. Before, it used to be the challenger needs to take it from the champion, yet now is how the champion need to take it from the challenger. Wait, okay. Before, it used to be the challenger needs to take it from the champion, yet now it's the champion needs to take it from the challenger. No pundit, media, former fighter that's got Shakur beating Tio has explained how is Shakur going to take it, take is in all caps, from Teofimo. Their simple assessments. Wait, their simple assessments is they hope Shakur fights like Ortiz and Martin. Who the fuck thinks Shakur is going to come in and fight like Ortiz? That's retarded. I wouldn't even respond to shit like that. And hopeful that judges give it to Shakur. It's obvious people are afraid to challenge Shakur to take it from Tio. Wait, what? It's obvious people are afraid to challenge Shakur to take it from Tio? Deep down, they think Shakur don't have the qualities, or they just know that it will fall into Tio's strengths. So my question to all, how will the... Okay, let me do this. This is all in caps. How will Shakur, the challenger, take it from the champion Teofimo? That's how I imagine he said it. And give me an offensive take, not that watered down best defensive take. Oh, I thought he meant off, like offensive. Like, I thought he was gonna be like, and whatever you think, just make sure you say it in like, you know, a way that's like really anti-Semitic. Like, what? You know what I mean? It's like, make your take offensive as hell, make it racist, and tell me how does Shakur win? Like, what? No, but he meant offense, so obviously. Okay, so let's kind of like unpack it here. First of all, I don't know if I call it Tio hate. I think that Tio gets what he gives back. I hate to say it that way, but I think it's just true. I think that there are people who have seen Tio and his father, and their progression through the limelight is either absolutely cringe or nonsensical. And I think also Tio understands the internet game probably better than most. But I don't think he understands what it's worth, right? He's come out, he said some things that have been perceived as racist and or are racist. And I think that that was used by him in an attempt to like try to like branch out the social media stuff, right? I think he saw what was happening on social media at this time, and he started becoming more of like a provocateur type, right? Uh and he's not like an edge lord or anything like that. He's a boxer at the end of the day, right? He leaves that shit for Ryan Garcia. All I'm saying is that the Tio that we knew, the real deal, right? That real deal Holyfield motherfucker that was going into ESPN, on draft night and just fucking up the game and his opponent, giving us clips, giving us replays that we were at the bar at 2 a.m. watching still, bro. You know what I mean? Like drinking the hand, talking to like, oh yeah, so where you? Oh, hold on, wait, there's the Tio knockout. Hey, Adam, look, the Tio knockout. Hey, there it is. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, that's fun, bro. It's a good time. It's a good time when a boxer produces the kind of performance that we're still willing to talk about hours after the fight. Because it doesn't happen that way often, or sometimes, sometimes the fight happens and you're kind of like, wow, I was waiting for this. I've been waiting months for this. I paid pay-per-view money for this. I subscribed to DAZN for a year for this. Oh no. So he says hate, right? Again, I get what he's saying, right? It's like that old Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. I just don't think that this is that kind of fight. You know what I mean, champ? Like, Shakur doesn't have to take it from Tio. Pause. He can allow Tio to give it to him. Double pause. No, but like, look, here's the thing, right? This is the game. Let me tell you all the game right now. Here's the game. Tio Lopez, all right, is on a media blitz tour trying to say anything that will get under the skin of Shakur so that Shakur goes out there and makes a mistake, right? And that's what they're going to try to do with Shakur. So they're going to say he's oh, this guy's a runner. Oh, Speedy Gonzalez over here. Oh, fucking blah, 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 right? And I'm not saying that that's a false narrative. I'm not arguing or debating that one way or the other. All I am saying is that there's nothing like that's well within the rules. You know what I mean? Like, Shakur's going to have to land punches to win the fight. Okay. All this whole like, oh, he's going to be running. Well, if you mean he's going to be boxing, then yes, that's what you signed up for, right? This is the whole Floyd Mayweather shit, angle again. It's like, here's a guy who's going to be defensive oriented and casual fans are going to call it running. But then here's another guy who's aggressive and has the physical, that has the physical attributes to cause or to present no, I was gonna say resentment, resistance. Okay. Shakur Stevenson existing as basically a little over 2-1 favorite, about a 2.5. No, it's about 2.5 favorite, right? I think that's what it was. That makes sense to me. And it makes sense for a couple reasons. When you go and you look at Teofimo's record, all right, you go and look at his box rec, which is exactly what we're about to do. I want y'all to see something, okay? All right. I want y'all to see something right here. Can y'all see the TO tab? Is it like too small? Let me make it a little bigger here. Pow, 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 pow. Jesus, I hate fucking dude, they're the worst. Boxrec is the worst. Bruh, stop, bruh. Oh my god, dude. What the fuck? All right, I guess that's gonna be too much. Okay, my bad, guys. All right, so I had mentioned earlier that Clarissa Shields. I mentioned earlier that Clarissa Shields said that she forgot that Tio fought Loma. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yo, what the fuck? Dude, BoxRec is like psychotically bad with ads. Look at this shit. It won't even work, bro. God damn. Fucking finally. All right. So we go to the Lomachenko fight. Okay. We go to the Lomachenko fight if it ever even works. Yo, this is embarrassing. Like for me, for like the whole thing. Yikes, dude. I don't even think I can use this fucking app. I mean, this website. Like, seriously, I don't even think I could fucking use it. Like, look, it's just moving by itself. I'm not doing shit. Holy shit, this is crazy, dude. Okay, so anyway, let's no block. I'm on fucking boxrec.com. Dude, you're oh my god, dude. The people that run BoxRec, I'm not gonna say it. Never mind. Vasyl Lomachenko, right? Fought him 2020. Now, I would love to scroll down so that you could all see what kind of activity Tio was working with back then, right? Oh, my bad. Why the fuck does it look like that? Okay, so you see he fights Lomachenko in 2020. Now this is COVID era, right? So you can't hold him or Top Rank to one fight in 2020, but he was fighting so much leading up to this. Okay, look at this. He beats Mason Maynard, right? Diego Magnello. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was in Mason Maynard was in 2018. Okay, so Mason Maynard, he also beat William Silva that year. Diego Magnello, he beats in 2009. And Nakatani as well. Richard Comey, which if you don't remember, that fight was, people thought Comey was a destructive force. Okay, and so this is like very busy, very competitive, right? Nakatani, Comey, these are solid, good fighters. Okay, then he fights Lomachenko, wins. All right, wins a decision, a unanimous decision. Remember the scores were 116, 112, 119, 109 is what Julie Letterman turned in the night of Vasyl Lomachenko and Teofimo. And Steve Weisfeld had it 117, 111. And again, I'm not talking shit about Letterman there because that shows you the nature of the swing rounds in that fight. But you got George Kambosos, and that's the loss, right? Split decision loss. We're going to look at that fight actually next week. We're going to watch it. And so I would be awesome if, everybody tapped in. But we're going to have a huge January 31st, guys. Huge. I'm going to be live literally for like 12 hours. It's going to start with the Royal Rumble about 12 o'clock. leading up to it. We're also going to do a show Rumble Pick'ems thing. Basically, we're going to do numbers. I'm going to try to get 10 people from the community, and each of these 10 people will get 3 numbers from the Rumble, and whoever wins. Shout out to Supermex and Machine Gun Matt, who my bad. So anyway, what the fuck is that? Oh, okay. So you had Teofimo in this situation, right? He loses to Kambosos. This is 2021. He doesn't get back into the ring. That's November 27th. God damn you, dude. Fuck you. Okay. Oh my God, dude. So George Kambosos beats him November 27th, 2021. He comes back August 13th, 2022. That's a long time out of the ring in that situation. And this is where it started for me. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think Tio is sleeping on silk sheets after he beat Vasyl Lomachenko, but it is that hunger, right? It's that hunger that really brings the best out of you. He fights Pedro Campa, which I never had a problem with. You know, you lose, you got to come back, you got to get, a soft touch. I think Pedro Campa makes a lot more sense if he would have, fought him not 9 months later, or 10 months later, 9, whatever. Sandor Martin, again, very respectable name, very respectable fighter. Lopez goes down in round 2, though, in this fight. And the score comes out as a split decision win for Teofimo. Okay. Cavalieri had it 94-95 in favor of Sandor Martin, while Max DeLuca had it 96-93 and Pascual Procopio both had it in Tio's favor. DeLuca 96-93 and Pascual 97-92. Okay. Then we move on to the Josh Taylor fight. Okay. Now, heading into this fight, Tio was an underdog. Okay, so we saw earlier that Lomachenko was roughly a 3.5 favorite, 3.5 point favorite. Or no. Yeah, he was like a 4. I think it was a 4-1 favorite. And then Tio was a 3.5 underdog, 3.5 to 1 underdog. So in the Taylor fight, Taylor was the favorite with a money line that was around minus 200 to minus 230. Again, that means that you have to bet $200 to $230 to win $100. While Lopez came in as a slight underdog. It really wasn't that bad, but at a plus 160, right? So you're basically in like half a point on your money, right? So again, if you bet $100, you win 160 back. That fight is the one that Teofimo came out, won, but it was close. The fight was close. Steve Gray, 115-113. Joseph Pasquale, 115-113. And Benoit Russell, he had it 117-111. And he was the widest one. But 2 judges had it within a point of being a majority draw. So that is definitely something. Next was Jermaine Ortiz. Okay. And this is this is a fight again. It's so easy to give Tio credit. It's so easy to give Tio the benefit of the doubt, right? And why? Because he's the kind of fighter that can go out there and give you the performance that we're looking for as fans. Okay. Jermaine Ortiz, on the other hand, is a very difficult fighter, right? Friend of the show. He's been on a bunch. Shout out to him. Actually, you know what? Let me see. Maybe he can come on later. All right, I just text Jermaine Ortiz, see if he'll come on. So anyway, Jermaine Ortiz, that's a very difficult fight. I'm not gonna hold T.O.'s feet to the fire on that one, right? It's a tough fight, even if he is systematically better, even if his talent is better. Jermaine Ortiz presents a very difficult fight script. And so he's a guy who you can be better than, and yet you're not going to look a whole lot better than. You know, he presents very tough fight scripts. Steve Claggett, a lot of people didn't like this fight, especially coming off the Jermaine Ortiz fight. It felt like a loss and coming back to get an easy win. That's how people, I think, saw it. Those were the optics, right? Ortiz, he didn't lose, right? He didn't lose the fight. You know, it was another near majority draw though. Okay. Because like the Josh Taylor fight, Jermaine Ortiz, there were two cards that had 115, 113. Tim Cheatham and David Sutherland both had it that score, while Steve Weisfeld had it wider at 117, 111, which oddly enough were the same scores in the Josh Taylor fight. So Steve Claggett, he comes, he wins the unanimous decision, right? You know, it was a whatever type of win. Then the Arnold Barbosa Jr. fight, which happened last May. Okay. Now, if you're keeping track, and again, I'm not holding anybody accountable during these years. I'm not saying, see, this is all T.O.'s fault. Or I'm not saying like, oh, see, Bob didn't get him the fights again. Like, no, not at all. This was COVID. This was a very tough era to work in. And the fact that Bob Arum was able to get Vasyl Lomachenko and Teofimo, you know, off the COVID list, basically, and got them to get a fight. And again, you know, it sucked. It sucked that a fight like that was in a COVID era where there was like, you know, fans were like that. I remember the presser or the it was like the face off. Do y'all remember that the week of the fight? I remember I was at the gym. I was at Crunch Gym, right? And I remember I was at Crunch Gym and I was looking at the TV and I saw they were playing the, you know, the it was like a presser, but because it was like COVID, there's like very few people, right? And they ended up getting to the spot where it was just so quiet, you know what I mean? And like everybody was just like, they didn't know how to interact, you know what I mean? It was weird. It was a weird, and then remember the weigh-in? Oh man, COVID was fucking crazy times. Crazy times. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah. So anyway, you have that fight with Arnold Barbosa last year, and that was in May. Oh wait, let me go over this real quick. So you had the George Kambosos after the Vasyl Lomachenko. That was 2021, and that was the only fight that he had. And that was over a year since he had fought Lomachenko. And again, it's hard to hold anybody accountable, but that doesn't help, especially a guy like T.O. Pedro Campa, all right, fought him in 2022. He didn't wait a full year this time, but, you know, fucking 10 months isn't great either, 9 months. Then fights his second fight in 2022, and this was back-to-back. Oh, I remember now. Yeah, that's why people were okay with the Pedro Campa, because it was like a situation where they knew he was going to be getting a big fight after that. Fought Sandor Martin a few months later. By the way, he looked good in the fight. People talk so much shit about how well Martin did in the fight, but you go back and you look, Teofimo made adjustments. He made micro adjustments that kept him in the fight. The Josh Taylor fight, obviously, and that was the only one he had in 2023. And then Jermaine Ortiz was one of his two fights in 2024. Okay. But Steve Claggett is who you followed off with, right? Like look at the pattern here. You have George Kambosos, right? You lose. So you go to Pedro Campa, right? A softer touch. And then you come into a big fight with Sandor Martin. Josh Taylor, right? Big fight. You win. Then you go to a Jermaine Ortiz. Now, Jermaine Ortiz is tricky. He's tough, right? But he's not up on the highest level as far as commercial success goes, right? And you follow that up with Steve Claggett. That everybody just felt like that was like a fucking slap in the face, but that was your full 2024, champ. Your full 2024. You know, I want to make it clear, like he hasn't stopped nobody since 2022. The whole reason Tio is, everybody's hooting and hollering for Tio right now, and the reason why Punch is on his, soapbox is because when you compare Teofimo Lopez and his career to that of Shakur Stevenson, you see glaring differences, and you can make the argument that Tio's the more exciting fighter. Tio's the guy that's going to show up to bring it. But is that the Tio that we still get? I don't know. I don't know for a couple reasons. One, we haven't seen that guy in a while. And two, this steady stream of fights that he's had, it would be okay for like a veteran fighter that's been around, like a Pacquiao or like whatever, right? When you are a fighter like Teofimo Lopez, right, you are a guy who has to get up for your fight. I always describe Teofimo Lopez like the Dallas Cowboys in the 2010s, right? These Dallas Cowboy franchise teams over the past like couple decades, right? They'll beat, the number one team or the NFC East fucking big bad, right? But then they'll go and lose the next week to a fucking scrub, right? To a team that's less than 500. The fuck was that? That to me, it speaks a lot to Tio's place in the sport and where he's at and where he is coming into this, right? He's not the young upstart. He's not the kid who, that's Shakur, right? That's Shakur. Shakur's the guy now in that Loma spot, I guess, or in that Tio spot that Tio found himself in against Loma. And that Shakur is going to be the guy that's got to prove himself. Shakur's got to be the guy that's got to prove that he belongs on that big stage. And there are going to have to be moments where Shakur does big things in that fight. He will be pressed to do them. That said, it's hard to really give Tio a fighting chance. I think the odds are pretty fair. Again, you consider the fact that, in this decade, okay, in this decade, two rounds could have made Tio's. Okay, so Tio is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's 6-1 in his last 7 fights. Okay, 6-1 in his last 7 fights. You go to the Sandor Martin split decision, 1 round would have changed the outcome. Okay, you go to Josh Taylor, 1 round would have changed the outcome. All right, on 2 judges' scorecards though. You go to the Jermaine Ortiz, 1 round would have changed the fight outcome on 2 different judges' scorecards. And then when you get to the Barbosa and you remember the performance, and it's not all Tio's fault. I mean, he had the better fight of the other, 2 matchups on the card. Ryan and Rolly stunk it up, and Haney didn't really, do anything worth mentioning either. So you get to this point now, and we have Shakur, right? 24-0. He believes in himself. He's at a point. Hey, shout out to Cardio Wayne. He's at this point in his career where he knows that the rubber is going to meet the road, and he's got to show up, right? Tio, on the other hand, is a guy that needs to be active and needs to be tested. He's at his best when he is fighting the best. He is at his best when he is being matched well and tough and to keep him on his toes. If you're not giving Teofimo a tough test in the ring, somebody that if you give him somebody that he knows he can beat, right? I don't trust what that camp looks like, right? This is a guy who, Tio clearly has ADHD, first of all. I mean, that's a joke. I'm just kidding. But, I mean, he seems like he's very easily distracted. And so all I'm saying is that you got to keep a guy like that focused. And what happened when he started only getting a fight a year? The focus dropped, right? How do we know the focus dropped? because he started claiming he was retired, and then he started working as a New York City garbage man, which, you know, they have great benefits, and so that's great. But ultimately, it was all a troll. You know, I think he retired twice, if I'm not mistaken. And then you had all this, you know, back and forth with his promoter and certain fighters, and then the racist stuff started happening, and you know, he started leaning into it and stuff like that, and then everybody remembers the package that he sent, or that he supposedly sent, with bananas in it. And so, you know, all this, like, all this that was happening with Tio, I believe, can be attributed to idle hands or the devil's playground. Or is that what it is? Idle hands or the devil's workshop? Whatever the fuck it is. But he got idle hands because he's not fighting, right? He's not fighting enough, and he's not fighting tough enough. It's not that, again, I'm not questioning the matchmaking. I'm not questioning the ability to promote during COVID. What I am saying, though, is that whether it was intentional or not, whether the last 7 fights that Tio's had were planned or, you know, part of the script, I don't think they have done well to help him get to the point where we are today, where he is going to face a young Shakur who has a lot to prove. And I think what Punch is trying to say is that, like, to be the man, you got to beat the man, right? That's that old Ric Flair adage. And I believe in that. I do believe in that. However, Tio's got to beat him too. You know what I mean? Like, Tio's got to beat him too. Tio's got to show up in a way that everybody else, like, he leaves no doubt. I will say that going to a scorecard, keeping enough swing rounds, it seems like the judges, if you look at the data points, it looks like the judges oftentimes favor the Tio style, right? When scoring, when awarding a round in a swing round, I think typically you see it go to that guy. You know what I mean? You see it go to the fighter pressing the action, the guy throwing more punches, you know, and Shakur, the, you know, ringside IQ, I mean, the ring IQ and all the elements of his fight game, they're going to be tough to completely shut down. You could argue that this fight is happening for Tio like a little too late. I'm not saying he's not in his prime anymore, but I definitely don't think he's prime Tio anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to make that argument like as a debate, right? If somebody like called in and said like, no, he's still in his prime, blah, blah, blah. Fine. I'll let you take that win. But I'll say this. Tell me what you see that has you confident that Tio's in the best position right now. Because all I've seen is the last 5 years of like basically nonsense. And if not mediocre performances, mediocre by comparison, right? Like, I think Tio had more in a lot of these fights. Why he doesn't get to that point, I don't know. All I know is in the past, when I've seen fighters like this or athletes or teams like this, it's because in all reality, they need somebody to bring their level up, right? If Tio's going in there with a Steve Claggett, he's going to have a Steve Claggett type of fucking, if Tio goes in there against a guy like Steve Claggett, he's going to have a Steve Claggett type of performance, because it's going to be based on a Steve Claggett type of training camp, right? But if he goes and fights Lomachenko or a Josh Taylor, then the seriousness is in Tio is this unstoppable force where determination is like the only thing that exists in Tio's mind. Like, everything else just gets swept away. Like, he got this tunnel vision ability. And that's something that winners have, the ability to cut everything out. Can Tio win this fight? Absolutely, he can. Am I going to pick him to win this fight? No, I'm not. Not at all. And again, it has nothing to do with the style matchup. It has nothing to do with the fight script that I see, taking place. It has everything to do with the past 5 years of progression for both, heading towards this point, right? Like, you look at Lomachenko and Tio. That was a huge fight, right? Everybody was like trying to get that Loma scalp, and you had all these dudes trying to call themselves king, and only this dude Loma was, that was the scalp you needed to take. Tio did it, man. Tio did it. Whether whether it was a close fight or not, he did it. And that was him at his best, I think. And that was him at his most consistent. If we're going to take the average of what we've seen from Tio over the last 4 or 5 years, does that beat him? Does that beat Shakur? I don't know. I don't think so. But again, I don't think Shakur has to take it from Tio. To be the man, you got to beat the man. But if by taking it you mean going out there and stopping him, if by taking it you mean going out there and being the aggressor or all these things, then I feel like it's just like it's an argument in bad faith, right? Like it feels like everybody on the Tio side is just trying to goad Shakur into opening up or fighting a firefight, and it just feels pathetic, I guess. I don't know. It's not pathetic. It's just like, look, this is boxing, dude. If you can't beat the fucking dude who's an expert defensive master craftsman with the fucking, all that, then I don't know what to tell you, dude. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. But we will see. We will see coming up very, very soon, guys. Very, very soon this fight's happening for real, for real. So listen, we're gonna move on to the Vargas brothers in a fight. Okay, my bad. So, we saw this past week, or when was it? It was a few days ago, actually, that okay, my bad. We saw that the Vargas brothers, Amalo and Fernando Jr., were involved in an altercation at a Las Vegas hotel. Now, let me show y'all real quick. Can y'all see this? There we go. Okay. So this is it right here. This guy's bald head, it was big enough that the both brothers fit on top and they started fighting each other, like right on top of his bald head. No, I'm just kidding. So wait, what the fuck? Okay, so it's gonna be a quick clip, so make sure you're paying attention. But you're gonna see right here they're fighting, wrestling, and it's broken up just like that. Now, I do have some okay, so I do have a little bit of knowledge of what they say went down. Now, none of this is confirmed. I've not spoken to either Vargas brother nor Fernando, although I did text him and he didn't text me back. But they stuck the hung out over a bit. Yeah, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean when I say you know what I mean? So apparently it was a woman that was the the reason for the altercation. I don't know any of their women, but I'm gonna guess that that girl's involved. She just looks like it. Yep, told you. That one. I knew it. Them boots, bro. Them boots. Listen to me. If your girl's wearing boots like this, run for the hills, dog. Run for the hills. She's a shit starter. You know what I mean? She's a shit starter, bro. Listen, I have the best wife in the world. No cap. No cap. All right. And we got married like late in life, right? I had my entire 20s and well, not my 30s, but like I have almost all my 20s, right? And so did she. We're a couple years apart. Like I know she's one of the good ones. And yet and she thinks I'm one of the good ones. And yet I bet both of us have versions of ourselves in the past that neither one would find very appealing, right? Like I'm not like saying I was like a fuck boy or anything like that. But you know, I I was very insecure and I liked and it felt good to have girls respond to your advances like at bars or parties or something, right? Like I was insecure. I mean, everybody's insecure to a degree, right? But I was really insecure at this time in my 20s. And so I would go to bars and I would get girls' numbers that I wasn't even going to call, like I knew it, right? Like most of the time I was hung up over, you know, this one girl. And I was like, just let me see how many numbers I could get, right? To distract myself from the idea that the one girl that I do want doesn't want me back, you know, and why? Is it because I'm too short? Am I too ugly? Do I not make enough money? It's like all these things go through your head. And at the end of the day, you're always good enough. It's the other person that whether they're good enough for you. Just know that. And you know, if somebody makes you feel insecure, then it's like something that's not working for you. But ultimately I was able to recognize that behavior and it's toxic. And again, I'm not trying to make women the issue. It's not that at all. It's men and how you respond to the women, right? But all I know is that this type of shit is embarrassing, bro. Like you can't fight, and especially if it's like I don't know for a fact it's over a woman. I don't know that for a fact. All I know is that not every brother, but most of the brothers that I know that have gotten into like serious fights, it's been over a girl. And not necessarily like, oh, they both want this girl. It's like, you know, he called her a bitch or, you know what I mean? Whatever. Little security all late and shit. Um, Get that boy. Get it. We can train too. Yo, who was the piece of shit yelling, "Get that boy"? What happened, bitch? What the go? Nah, that was sad, bro. That's sad. I don't want to see brothers fight like that. That's so sad. I don't know. Anyway, Wilder, Derek Chisora, what does it look like? What are we getting? Deontay Wilder coming back, fighting Derek Chisora in April. Shout out to Brunch Boxing. They had this story up a while back, a few days ago, I think it was. And yeah, they got it April in London, Wilder, and the rumor is Derek Chisora. Now, I don't know what to think of this. And I spoke about this earlier, but if you weren't tapped in, then we'll go over it again. I don't know what to think of this for a couple of reasons. All right. Number one, what happened with the other fights? Like what happened with every other fight that Wilder's been in discussion for? I'm not saying he doesn't want to fight, but I do think that he's looking for a very specific type of fight, right? And I didn't think the Derek Chisora fight was the one. Not at all. I thought he'd sooner fight Jake Paul than he'd fight a Derek Chisora type. It's a good fight, honestly. There was no interest that I had in watching Wilder ever again, especially if he was going to be fighting, top fighters in the world without having any sort of means of being ranked there, right? Like, this guy's been super inactive, lost his last fight, and yet you're going to put him in with the world champion. What was Deontay Wilder's last fight? I wanted to say it was the oh shit, the Joseph Parker, right? Oh, the Zhang fight. I forgot about the Zhang fight. That was his last fight, right? Let me see. Oh shit, I forgot he fought. I forgot he fought what was it, on BLK or some shit, right? Wasn't a pay-per-view. He fought Tyrell Anthony Herndon. He Herndon, I think it is, whatever. He yeah, he fought him. He got a TKO in the 7th round. That was a shit fight, dude. Oh my god. The guy didn't even look like he belonged in the ring. But before that, he lost to Zhang by 5th round TKO, and then before that, he lost to Joseph Parker. And then of course, before that, he beat Robert Helenius, nasty knockout, following his back-to-back losses to Tyson Fury. And those were based off of the fact that he was gifted a draw in their first fight. Now, Deontay Wilder, what is he worth? What does he offer at this stage in the boxing game, right? Absolutely, he will be more remembered, or not more remembered, but I'll say he'll be remembered more than he'd probably want to, as the guy that didn't fight AJ, right? And AJ will probably have some of those memories too, but AJ is so much more beloved in the UK than I think Wilder is in America. Don't get me wrong, Wilder has his fandom, but that fandom is decreased a lot. Like, none of them were actually fans of Wilder. They were people that put their hopes in Wilder bringing back the American heavyweight title. You know what I mean? Yeah, shout out to Matt Machine Gun in the house. He said Wilder versus Chisora is a perfect fight for both of them, and I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. I didn't want to see, as I said, I didn't want to see the Usyk fight. I didn't want to see, like, I would have been cool with the Ngannou fight, but just out of pure, like, morbid curiosity, right? Like, I didn't want to see that fight because I'm like, ooh, who's the better boxer? I wonder. Oh, neither. Like, that's not it at all, right? I was like, just wanting to see it out of mere curiosity. And then I saw the Jake Paul AJ fight, and I was like, you know what? I would rather see Wilder Jake Paul than Wilder Usyk. There is no reason I want to see Wilder Usyk at that point, right? But you're going to give me Wilder Jake Paul. It's the same situation. I'll watch for the morbid curiosity. Then they spoke about an AJ fight. Well, this was before they had spoken about AJ fight, and I always thought that was a good fight to make, right? Is it the millions and millions of dollar promotion that it was once touted to be? No, of course not, right? But that doesn't mean it can't make money. That doesn't mean it's not a fun night at the fun Saturday night for the Brits and American fans alike. It doesn't mean that we can't enjoy a fight that answers a question: which one of them would have won in a fight? For Chisora, I love it because he's on this generational run. All right. And I just love the fact that this guy keeps coming back, right? Everybody thinks his career's over. Everybody thinks that he's done. Everybody thinks that, he couldn't possibly be fighting anymore. And at age 42, he is going to go in and take on the former WBC heavyweight champion. And this is off of a 3-fight winning streak that began with Gerald Washington. Then he beat Joe Joyce in 2024. And then last February, he beat Otto Wallin, and that was the eliminator for the IBF heavyweight title. Now, Chisora did suffer a cut over his right eye in that fight, but other than that, he was okay. Wallin was put down in the 9th and in the 12th. That was a good fight. That was a great performance from Derek Chisora. And now we're in a situation where we're going to get to see which one of these guys is going to blast off. Bro, this is the perfect fight for them because you have a guy in Derek Chisora who is the consummate rebuild piece, right? Or the consummate rebuild case. The constant rebuild case, right? And then you have Deontay Wilder, the guy that always refused to rebuild, the guy that, refused to, recollect or re-strategize or rebrand, or, you know what I mean? Like, this is a guy who just kept blaming different trainers, right? Oh, you threw in the towel. I should be dead right now. You're such a, yeah. And Wilder's a piece of shit for that too. He's never apologized for that, right? As far as I know, I don't think he's ever apologized. Yeah. So, Wilder never even apologized to Mark Breland. I don't think he did. I try to look it up, but just to make sure. So, this is a guy in Wilder, like I said, he has the most stupid, retarded argument in the history of the sport, right? He says something along the lines of like, Mark Breland didn't let me die, so he's a shitty trainer. Or I mean, it wasn't like that, but somewhere along the lines. But that was basically his point, his argument, right? He wanted to die in the ring, and Mark Breland took that from him, and you've never apologized for that stupid, stupid comment. And not only have you never apologized, but you even doubled down and suggested that Mark Breland might have been working with the ops or like whatever crazy shit. And again, this is all the conspiracy aspect to the Wilder career, right? I think Wilder will be probably remembered more for his complaining and crying and bitching than actually like for anybody he actually beat. Maybe not, but I don't know. All I know is that, you know, he just could not come back from that Fury fight. That Fury fight broke him mentally, physically, emotionally. I really don't think he should even be boxing. Like, he's made comments in the past after he's taken ayahuasca that makes me wonder if he, still has that killer instinct. And it's not to say like he needs it in life, but I think you need it in the boxing ring, especially when you're as limited as Deontay Wilder was and is. But this is an awesome fight. This is an awesome fight because the winner of this should be maybe not catapulted, but certainly placed on a higher echelon than they currently reside. And that's because both of them are names, right? But more importantly, both of them will look to produce a monster knockout, right? One of these guys is getting put to sleep, I think. I think it's fair to say one of these guys is getting put to sleep. And whoever the winner is of this fight will have a sudden reemergence, I think. I hope it doesn't lead to an Usyk fight, but if it does lead to like an AJ fight or whatever, like I'd be cool with that, assuming Wilder wins. For Chisora, he's been through so much. This guy's 36-13, dude. 36-13. So this is going to be his 50th fight. And he was calling for it. He had been calling Deontay Wilder out, and now he's got the fight. Wondering what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. Remember, the link to join is up on X, Twitch, and YouTube. TikTok, sorry, not up. Not going to be up. So you can join me on that. Let me know what your picks are for Wilder Chisora, which that's going to be a fun fight. I really, really am looking forward to it. I think that both of them have the ability to capitalize on this fight. So let me see what's next. Oh, okay. Let me go to All right. What the fuck, dude? This thing is like such bullshit. Damn, what's going on with PFL, bro? Looks like PFL is losing a lot of. Yo, that Jake Paul PFL deal, bro. That's hilarious. Yo, bro, if I was Jake Paul, I would be telling everybody that this was like photoshopped in AI. Cause like the fact that you actually like got PFL shorts, like you're just a cosplayer, bro. You're just cosplaying. That's what this is. You know, that's I respect the Paul brothers in a lot of ways, right? They obviously have a strong work ethic. They are very visionaries, I think, when it comes to social media, branding, and um, commercializing and things like that. But I don't have any respect. Or no, I don't want to say that. Wait, let me put it this way. I have so much more respect for Logan Paul because what he's doing in the WWE, like he looks like he belongs. Not only does he look like he belongs, but he's able to compete at a level that is insane for him to be competing at with such little uh background in professional wrestling. It's phenomenal. I mean, it shows what kind of athlete he is for sure, but at the end of the day, I can tell that he's dedicating his time to this craft. I'm not saying that Jake's hasn't done that with boxing. What I am saying is that to have gotten to the point where Jake wanted to be, that it definitely like he needed more. He needed better. You know, I'm not saying he should have gone to Wild Card or Robert Diaz or any one person, right? I'm just saying that uh I'm just saying I don't even know what I'm saying, dude. I guess the only point I'm trying to make really is that like when the history books are written, Logan Paul may go down as a WWE Hall of Famer. In fact, guarantee he will, based on the company. And there's a likelihood that he'll win the world title at some point. And when he does, people are going to be pissed. But the truth is, he belongs. He belongs. Jake Paul never belonged in boxing at the highest level. No matter how many times he told everybody, no matter how much he said, he didn't belong. And this is what his career, I think, in combat sports will always amount to. He was a cosplayer, cosplayed as an MMA fighter. And don't get me wrong, he was like a real legit cosplayer in boxing, right? He was one of those LARPers. He was like a boxing LARPer, right? Like the live action role play. Yo, but that Jake Paul, there was no, I mean, that Jake Paul AJ fight, there was nothing fake about that. There was nothing novice or amateur about that. But yeah, so it looks like the PFL is either doing some cleaning house or they're getting cleaned out themselves. Don Davis also announced, look at this, dude. What the fuck is going on? Look, Don Davis, done. From the moment I founded Professional Fighters League 8 years ago, it's been my life, blah, blah, blah. Today, I'm stepping down as chairman of PFL. I care deeply about each employee, value, blah, blah, blah. I gave you everything. Footprint, I'm confident, blah, blah, blah. I love the, man, this sucks, dude. This sucks. PFL, I like, they were, if you're a boxing fan, they were like the Pro Box TV, right? The guys that were just like trying to do it the best way they can, grassroots type shit, guerrilla style promotions and just really like ground level, like grassroots type stuff, right? And I love that, especially when you succeed. And the PFL had a lot of great value to it, and I mean, I think it still has. It's like pro box. If you put good fights out, the fans will respond. But I wonder what this Don Davis situation means. I guess we'll find out. But let's see. Okay. Let's get to this real quick. So the last two things we have, Canelo and Terrence Crawford. If Canelo looks bad in his ring return, does it hurt Terrence Crawford's legacy? Saw this is something that Max Kellerman was arguing. We'll talk about that. But before we do, I want to give you all insight into yesterday's comments regarding actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. I want to show y'all something, okay? So I have received information that the lawsuit going on between Golden Boy and Verge, obviously it was just recently put into motion. But I am hearing rumors that the breakdown in relationship between Oscar and Verge had been happening for some time. There's rumors that as far back as a year and a half ago, these guys were there was tension. First of all, I want to show y'all what Mike Coppinger had to say about it. Wait, did I even fucking bookmark it? Oh yeah, here it is. So this is what Mike Coppinger had to say on the Virgil Ortiz, and I think he made a lot of really great points here. We'll go ahead and get into that. Let's see.
These other guys, Mike, in your expert opinion, why do you think? Because he asked Virgil, "Is there a problem?" He's had all these problems with these other guys. Mike, in your expert opinion, you're in it. You're
All right. So my bad, guys. We are going to play this clip here. Just
A
give me a
legitimate
second.
boxing insider. Why?
Okay. So we're gonna get into this. This is the why does it look like that? Oh well. So we're gonna get into this comment here that Mike Coppinger makes on the ongoing litigation between Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy, or Golden Boy's Oscar De La Hoya, and Virgil Ortiz. Now there's some interesting moments here leading up. There are some interesting moments leading up to this stuff, and I had mentioned it earlier before I left, before I stepped out for a second, that I was informed that members of the Ortiz camp have made comments about the discrepancy and the issues relating with Golden Boy, specifically with Oscar, and how far they go back. Basically, what I'm hearing is the Verge camp is not that they're not happy, but they don't feel like the narrative of, oh, he's not making the Boots fight, so we want to leave, is like a fair representation of what's going on. For Verge, this is way bigger. It's way more, right? If Oscar said, oh, he's getting bad advice, or he's listening to the wrong people, that's the same shit he said about everybody. It's what you said about Canelo. It's what you said about Ryan Garcia, right? It's what you've said about everybody. Everybody that leaves you is getting bad advice. Everybody that leaves you has the wrong person in their ear. And look, it may even still be the case, but you have to work with these people, right? It's like politics, like I've mentioned it many times, and I've got no problem saying it. I'm not a Democrat, not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. Although I was a registered Republican at 18, voted Republican in my first two major elections. But I have paid attention long enough. I lived through 9/11. I went back and did the research on Reagan and Carter and the CIA. I looked at Nixon and all the bullshit he did, and it became clear the two-party system's bullshit, right? And so it's like you can like have people gaslight you into this thing, but I don't think it works that way, or I don't think it can work that way. And so when you have like a guy like Oscar in this position, right, and Verge in this position, to assume that all this is coming down to like one fight or this like one issue, that's just, it's never that simple. But I want to make this point. Cop made a lot of good points. A lot of them are points that I either heard already from others, or that you all said, the community, in the last couple of days. I think even Matt made that comment too, or some of the comments that he made. But the one thing Cop said that really resonated, or you know what, I'm just gonna play it. I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna show it, because Cop had several good points, but there was one point I really want to focus on.
What do you think? Because he asked Virgil, is there a problem? He's had all these problems with these other guys. Mike, in your expert opinion, you're a legitimate boxing insider. Why do
you say it like that? You're a legitimate boxing insider, right? No, you're legitimate. No. I consider you legit. I don't care what anyone says. No. Don't listen to anyone else, because everyone's saying you're not legitimate. But I think, like, I don't know. That's kind of how it came off.
Oscar is having problems with guys like Virgil promoting them.
Look, I think Oscar has a big ego, and that's not a disrespect or anything. He's one of the greatest fighters of all time, and I give Oscar a lot of credit for building Golden Boy Promotions to what it is. It's not easy to go out on your own and make a promotional company that's around for 20 years and counting now. But I think a lot of times Oscar does not see eye to eye with the fighters. Canelo Alvarez, what happened was there was a deal with the network, and in the deal with Golden Boy, it said you must deliver a Canelo Alvarez Triple G trilogy fight. But the language wasn't the same in Canelo's deal. So I think there's sometimes just a little sloppiness.
That's fishy.
And they don't get on the same page. Virgil wants the Boots fight. Oscar wants to do it, but he wants it at a certain price point in a certain way. And sometimes, Oscar has to remember why he left Top Rank. He sued Bob
There
Arum,
it is. Listen to
and
this.
now Oscar's on the other side, and he became maybe what he hated.
Ooh, yikes, bro. Yikes, bro. Say that again. Hey, cop, say that again.
There's sometimes just a little sloppiness.
That's fishy.
And they don't get on the same page. Virgil wants the boots fight. Oscar wants to do it, but he wants it at a certain price point in a certain way. And sometimes, Oscar has to remember why he left Top Rank. He sued Bob Arum, and now Oscar's on the other side, and he became maybe what he hated.
Yo, shout out to Cop right there, bro. Shout out to Cop right there, because he is absolutely right. He is absolutely right. Okay. Yeah, bro. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me that it went down this way, right? But here's the truth. Coppinger's absolutely right. When Oscar De La Hoya left Bob Arum, one of the first interviews he did with I forgot who it was. It was somebody that worked for Sports Illustrated. Not at that time, but they did. They did. It wasn't Chris Mannix. But anyway, Oscar De La Hoya gave an interview, and he specifically stated how there were several fights throughout his career that he had to either push for, or that he felt like Top Rank was like, or Bob Arum was like overtly working against. And look, I don't know how much that's true or not. All I know is that was your reasoning. That was your excuse. And now here you are today in a situation, and I think Cop said it best. You've become what you hated the most, or what, you've become the not evil. That's a strong word. You've become the, piece of shit promoter that you always railed against. I think that's safe to say, maybe, from Oscar. Look, I again, I don't think it's this simple either, right? Like, Cop made a bunch of good points, but even he knows that this is super, super nuanced. And so before we get into the conversation of it, I want you to hear this real quick. Okay.
Shady McCoy asking Virgil, who came on the show, if everything. Here's our own.
Okay. So now this clip you're about to watch has been played a lot over the last week that this news broke of the Ortiz De La Hoya stuff. And this clip has been played a lot. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to play it for you here. And if you have seen it, then you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. But here's a clip of Virgil Ortiz being interviewed before the lawsuit, before, before social media knew there was a problem. All right. I say social media because, again, the reports I'm hearing is that several writers, several journalists knew, not that the lawsuit was coming, but that the relationship was souring, and had been soured, actually. But here we go.
Shady McCoy asking Virgil, who came on the show, if everything was good with Golden Boy. This is a few months back.
What's your take on Oscar De La Hoya, though? And how is as your promoter?
I mean, Oscar is probably one of the most successful promoters in the history of the sport. And he has always been done right by me. I have nothing bad to say about him. I mean, he's gone out of his way. He texts me all the time. He's called me, FaceTime me on Christmas. I mean, everything that he's done, I think that he's done with good intentions with me. And I can't say anything bad about the guy.
Does it ever scare you, though, where a guy like Canelo Alvarez is one of the biggest Mexican fighters of all time, one of the best fighters, and then you have the guy in your stable and you lose him because things haven't went right?
I don't know. It's a hard thing to speak on. I don't know anything about that. All I know is that, is it a business? That's true. And you have to take care of yourself when it comes to business like matters and stuff like that. But everything's good on this side.
So Oscar did not take kindly to the line of questions from Shady. This is how he responded on Instagram.
Dude, what the are you talking about? Stirring shit up. You asked the question so many times and Virgil answered you. He says I'm a good guy. He says I'm a great promoter. What do you want? What are you fishing for? Going back to Canelo, going back to Ryan. I mean, who are you? What do you know about boxing?
Yo, absolutely shook. Hey, Shoe Shine in the building. What's going on, champ? Hey, everybody. I actually mentioned it earlier, but for those that just tuned in, Shoe Shine will be in the building tomorrow. We're going to be talking. I hope he did his homework on the UFC, even though he didn't really have to, because, you know, they're going to be like questions revolving around like the landscape of combat sports more than anything. But I mean, if he wants to chop up Patty the Batty, I'm down. That said, we also have a topic tomorrow. I can't wait to chop up with him. I've actually been wanting to put out a TikTok on it that I have ready to go as soon as we do the topic. But we're going to talk about the top fights or the top fights in the history of the sport that for which we saw. Hold on, I have the thing pulled up. What? Oh. Damn, I don't know what I did with it. Fuck. Well, basically, it's going to be around the idea of uh-oh, my man's in the building. Shoe Shine, what's going down, champ?
What's good, Mario? You can hear me fine. I'm on my phone.
You sound great, champ. You sound great. I love all the press passes in the bag. It looks good, champ.
Yeah. Shout out to my new co-host out here, Vince 702 Man Cave. He's the uncle of the famous Vargas brothers, and he's we got a new little show that we just finished up. But yeah, I'll be on your show tomorrow, man. I'm excited. He wanted to know what wrestling you're talking about, though.
What kind of wrestling?
What wrestling? Like, you mean like promotion or like the topic?
No, like when you talk about wrestling, you talk about like the Olympic style wrestling or like
no. Well, we talk Olympic style wrestling, you know, but not as much. But no, we talk pro wrestling though. WWE, AEW.
Oh, that's crazy because you know, I grew up at the Sportatorium.
No, stop it. Are you
I
serious?
love it. I'm gonna show you something. If you went there, you know what I'm showing. I'm gonna show you right now. Watch.
No, I've never been there, but I've covered this sport for a long time. I know exactly.
I'm gonna show you something.
Let me see that, bro. Y'all are in.
Bro.
Hey,
This is a memorabilia. Like, what's that?
He's a Cowboys fan.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
This is Cowboys territory right here.
hell yeah, bro. That's what I'm talking about. Cowboys Nation, stand up. What? Bro, that don't burn your soft San Francisco hands.
Bro, the Niners Cowboys rivalry was one of the best rivalries ever, man. I'm a sports fan above everything.
Hell yeah, me too.
You see this?
Crazy stuff is. It looks like a lighter with the wrestling logo. What does it say? Does it say Mick? What does it say? Fritz Von Erich. Stop, dude.
Yes, I told you. No, my favorite wrestler is the Von Erichs.
Yo, that was like my mom's, like, she loved them. Like the way that girls are for I don't know, is Justin Bieber still like popular with girls? I don't know. But that's how she was for them. Bro,
I won this ladder a long time ago. I even reached out to Kevin Von Erich, and he reached out to me and said, "Oh, I remember my dad used to pull that out of his pocket. He had one."
That's sick, dude. What?
And the the boys.
You just said you won it. What do you mean you won it?
Like back in the day, they had like a when you buy a program, there's a number on there, and they'll have a raffle, and they'll give out front row tickets. They give out a lighter. They give out big certain stuff. And I won the lighter. Oh shit! And I never put nothing in it. It's never been used.
Damn, that's dope. Hey, listen, that's a badass story. But hey, if you want to change it up a little bit, you could just tell people, because I thought you were gonna say you wanted a poker game. You'd be like, yeah, Fritz was like, hey, dude, I'm all in, and I said, you're throwing this lighter in too, and I took it. No, I'm just playing, but that is like crazy memorabilia. That's like one of one.
I don't think nobody has this.
No, how could they? That's the man. You know what I mean? Like that's not something that they made to sell and market.
No,
in China. That is like a one of one specialty item.
And it's a Zippo. It's a Zippo lighter too.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That's so sick, bro. Because they never
Yeah,
go
it's
out
awesome.
there like, you know what I mean?
I
Bro,
love it.
You're a Lakers fan and a Cowboy fan, bro. You're doing my show, dog. You're doing my show. That's it.
So
That's
let me know. Let me know tomorrow what time you want to come on. I'll be at my house. I've gotten a lot of studio equipment here for Vince, but he doesn't have his own laptop. But he could use the phone. We could both come on here tomorrow.
Yeah. He can use the phone. Hell yeah, that would be dope. Hey,
Yeah.
give us one preview. So we talked about it, Mario Barrios and Ryan Garcia. The fight's been made, and we talked about how the matchups of the golden boy, pretty boy gets everything versus the struggle, the Hispanic, the real Hispanics are behind. You know what I mean? Put the air quotes up. Those kinds of fights. Vargas De La Hoya, we talked about it. Give us one fight that you think of, or you want to save it for tomorrow if you want to.
I'll save that one for tomorrow.
Hell yeah,
Hey,
champ. We're gonna talk about it.
Here, let me show you something real quick. I'm gonna flash the. Let's see if I can show.
Bro, that is the dopest. Is that an office or a garage? Or y'all in the man cave? You said right?
Yeah, it's a converted man cave.
Those for net. That's so sick, dude. Oh man, dude, holy shit! I would pay to Airbnb and stay there for like a day.
I mean,
Oh
you
my
talking about
God,
the pretty boy?
Trunks? Holy
Yeah.
shit. Yo, was that Eric Morales gear up at the top?
Yeah, he's got it all, bro. This is Emiliano Vargas's trunks.
Yeah.
El Ferros right here, Fernando.
Man,
It's crazy.
dude,
I love it here,
is-
man.
Yo, that is incredible, bro. All right, we're gonna have to do
I'm
a
telling
fight
you, when you
party
come out
there.
to Vegas for the next big fight, we'll come out here and do a show.
That'd be awesome.
Bro, I would fucking love to do that. Absolutely, bro. And by the way, now that you show me some of y'all's, I'm gonna show y'all's some of my memorabilia for y'all tomorrow. So if y'all got like maybe one other thing y'all want to like pop out tomorrow, we could do that.
We'll do that.
Hey, Golden Boy mug, bro.
Hey.
Oh, that's sick, dog.
Hey, I know his son real good.
Marquez? I mean,
No.
Marquez.
Oscar's son, Devin De La Hoya. He used to live with me.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, I got some of his amateur belts, and
Oh.
he gave me some. He gave me some of his amateur belts, and I got Emmy's amateur belts.
Yo, that is so fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, a
That
lot
is
of stories. So hit me up with
Man.
your itinerary for tomorrow, so I make sure I'm
I got
read
you,
up on
champ.
the UFC
Hell
and
yeah.
what time. We'll both
I
come on.
got you, champ. Hell yeah.
All right, man.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Appreciate you, champ. Hell yeah.
We'll
I'll
We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.
Peace out. Yo, shout out to Shoe Shop, bro. That is like, oh man, that's everything, bro. I would like I wonder what that whole evaluation would be. Right? All that memorabilia, a lot of it just gone, right? Like those fight posters, yeah, you could have some of those reprinted if you want, but those are original fight posters he had. You know what I'm saying? Some of those are original banners that he had, right? And I know he's good with the Vargas bros, and apparently he's fucking cool with the Del man, dude. That's a treasure trove right there. My man is sitting in a treasure trove. I was gonna show him this, but I'll just show him it to him tomorrow. But I don't know if I showed y'all. My cousins gave me this for Christmas. It's a Pacquiao Marquez 3 IBC root beer promotional. Yeah, it's like very unique. I've never seen a soda represent boxing, not in this era. But I do have all the beer bottles from Corona. But anyway, let's get back into it. Wait, where was I? Oh yeah, right here. Was it this one? Oh yeah. Okay. So finish watching it, or let me start it all over.
Shady McCoy asking Virgil, who came on the show, if everything was good with Golden Boy. This is a few months back.
What's your take on Oscar De La Hoya, though? And how is it your promoter?
I mean, Oscar is probably he is probably one of the most successful promoters in the history of the sport.
Yo, he was
And
gonna say
he has always
something
been
totally
done right by
different.
me. I have nothing bad to say about him. I mean, he's gone out of his way. He texts me all the time. He's called me, FaceTime me on Christmas. He does his job. I mean, everything that he's done, I think that he's done with good intentions with me. And I can't say anything bad about the guy.
Does it ever scare you, though, where a guy like Canelo Alvarez is one of the biggest Mexican fighters of all time, one of the best fighters, and then you have the guy in your stable and you lose him because things
That was a
haven't went
leading
right?
ass question. I'll be honest.
I don't know. It's a hard thing to speak on. I don't know anything about that. All I know is that is it a business? That's true, and you have to take care of yourself when it comes to business like matters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Everything's good on this side.
So okay, before we see Oscar's comments, right? I want to show y'all like
Promoter.
listen,
I mean,
right?
Oscar.
First of all, listen to the question and the response.
Oscar De La Hoya, though. And
So
how
yeah,
is it your
Oscar.
promoter?
I mean, Oscar is
He seems like he's being very specific what he's gonna say, right?
probably one of the. He is probably.
So I feel like he was like, okay, and this is me putting on the tinfoil, right? Because obviously JFK wasn't killed by one person. And I'm going to put the tinfoil hat on and I'm going to speculate hard as shit right now. But that deep gasp, I say grasp, that deep gasp you heard, that he's probably one of that is a telltale sign of somebody who is not struggling to find the words because he's incapable, struggling to find the words beyond his natural reaction to the question. That's what it feels like to me. So if Verge was shooting the shit with a homeboy and they ask him that, right? I feel like it's a different response completely he's going to give. I don't mean like in the style and the manner, right? Obviously he's going to be more polished on for media. What I mean is that he's going to give an honest and genuine response, knowing that the words have zero repercussion on him, right? This, however, feels like he was very not concerned. He was very, I don't know. He's just very, it seemed like he's worried about what he was going to say.
Probably one of the most successful promoters in the history of the sport. And he has always been done right by me.
And listen how he was. Look, I know I'm going too far with this, but listen how stuttery he is and how like unsure the word
is. Probably one of.
Okay, now he's made the decision to just say the politically correct thing that a fighter under your promoter would have to say. Okay, so now he has made the decision to be politically correct. He's made the decision to be PC. Watch.
He is probably one of the most successful promoters in the history of the sport.
So now he went into this full like explanation, right? Almost sounds like it was like prepared for him.
And he has always been done right by me.
And that's a weird thing to say, even though nobody prompted you to say it.
I have nothing bad to say about him.
Nothing bad to say about
he's gone
him.
out of his way. He texts me all the time. He's called me, FaceTime me on Christmas. He does his job.
Here's the thing I'll say about that. FaceTiming during Christmas. Yeah, you should be doing that, but you should also probably be buying them gifts, right? Like, yeah, you take a percentage, but it's like you do a job. Still, though, as a fighter, right, I expect better from Oscar. Like, I expect Golden Boy fighters to be treated so much better than anywhere else. Matchroom, Top Rank, because Oscar was a fighter. But the more I've been exposed to this sport, the more I've realized that it doesn't work that way. You can't keep a fighter mind while you're a promoter, right? First of all, you can make a lot of bad decisions just trying to please the fans and trying to, keep the fighter's ego in check, right? And because that's part of this, right? That's part of this. We have to admit that that is also part of this. Verge does not like hearing the boxing voice or Sean's, or I don't know which, I don't know what anybody said, but I'm just saying in general, like he doesn't want to turn on a random or specific boxing media person and hear them basically saying he's ducking, and not in so many words, but or like in so many words, whatever. He doesn't want to hear that. He doesn't want that backlash. It's the same thing with Ryan Garcia and Tank. He wanted that Tank fight. He needed that Tank fight, but it was because he cared about what everybody else was thinking about and what everybody else said about him. And I'm not saying that's wrong. It's human. I'm just saying that a promoter's job is not to think about the fans, like if they like them or not, right? I mean, it's their job to consider the fans in the promotions and in the fights they make, but like how they move and how they operate, sometimes it's better to be the disliked promoter that everybody wants to see your fighter lose, and that's the reason they're watching or whatever. But again, I think it's deeper than this.
I mean, everything that he's done, I think that he's done with good intentions with me. And I can't say anything bad about the guy.
Does it ever scare you though, where a guy like Canelo Alvarez is one of the biggest Mexican fighters of all time, one of the best fighters, and then you have the guy in your stable and you lose him because things haven't went right?
I don't know. It's a hard thing to speak on. I don't know anything about that. All I know is that is it a business? That's true, and you have to take care of yourself when it comes to business like matters and stuff like that. But everything's good on this side.
So Oscar did not take kindly to the questions, the line of questions from Shady. This is how he responded on Instagram.
Dude, what the are you talking about? Stirring shit up. You asked the question so many times and Virgil answered you. He says I'm a good guy. He says I'm a great promoter. What do you want? What are you fishing for? Going back to Canelo, going back to Ryan. I mean, who are you? What do you know about boxing?
Bro, triggered.
I mean, who is this guy?
Triggered.
My bad, Oscar, I was tripping, or was I? How is it that you can be so good at your job, right? 3 of your biggest people in your stable, 3 fighters that's your biggest draws, have legal battles with you, though. We got to ask the question, though. So it's not about...
Yo, triggered.
This is how he responded on Instagram.
Triggered. Watch.
Dude, what the are you talking about?
So triggered, bro. So triggered, bro. Oh my God, he's triggered, dog. Like, let me tell y'all, right? I'm married. A lot of y'all know. I already mentioned, I think, this live too. All right. And I don't cheat. I've actually never cheated in my life, whether it was on like a middle school girlfriend or my high school sweetheart or my college, I'm not going to say that. And so like today, being able to leave my phone wherever I want and it be unlocked, and she comes and goes, or she says, hey, can I borrow your phone real quick? Or can I use your phone real quick? I don't need to know why. Go ahead. Do whatever you want. Check my DMs. That's not my wife though, right? Because I wouldn't have ended up with someone like that anyway. But I give her my phone all the time. She helps me post my clips on IG. She has my passwords for TikTok. All right. And by the way, guys, it feels really good to live that way. You know what I mean? Like I'm not judging nobody, at all. I wouldn't do that. Everybody's life is their own. But all I'm saying is it feels really good to be able to like leave your phone unlocked and shit. You know what I mean? Like sometimes that tough conversation just has to be had, but whatever. All I'm saying is like, if somebody came out like on social media and was like, I'm gonna expose you, Mario, for all the DMs and your wife's gonna know, I would be like, okay, go ahead. I don't know. You're coming up with some AI shit because I'm good. Right. De La Hoya responds to this in a way that was like, I don't know, like, it's like your best friend thinks it's like a girl and her best friend thinks her dude's cheating, and then like he gets a phone call and she's like, and he goes to take it and she's like, who is that? And he's like, why you gotta be stirring shit up? Because he's actually cheating, right? Like, this is that situation, because it's like, De La Hoya, there's something wrong. There's something actually wrong, right? We know there's something wrong. Like, look, again, I'm not saying that the Boots fight wasn't perhaps the either crux, the catalyst, or the straw that broke the camel's back. Either way, it makes up a percentage of the decision that he made to go forward with this lawsuit. This is a risky thing for Verge, okay? And shout out to Mike, shout out to Cop and Max. They both mentioned this point earlier in the week. They had said, you know, you looked at the careers of guys like Mikey Garcia, Andre Ward, even De La Hoya himself. Like, there were these moments in their career where they took their stances against their promoter and it cost them time. It cost them a lot of time. And because those litigations take so long, I honestly think they end up making some sort of peace to just go on and get on with the rest of this. I mean, unless Verge has absolute undeniable, terms of breaching the contract. But even then, that gives them, a lot of cards on the table to come back to De La Hoya and be like, okay, well, now I want this, blah, blah, blah. Again, all I'm saying is that this is something more than the Boots fight. This is something more than a week-old lawsuit. Okay. The subconscious information that the ring crew has been either knowingly or unknowingly gathering over the last several months helps to paint a picture here that I don't think we even have like 20% of yet. Okay. On top of that, I'll say that I think it was Paulie who said it. I don't remember. Somebody told me on social media. They sent me the link. I saw it. But Paulie made mentions of how the clapback Thursdays hurt De La Hoya. And I've been saying this since last year. Like, look, it's all good in the social media realm to go out there and like try to be as like, edgy as you can, but it's like there's a fine line, and when you cross it, it's so much easier to cross. You look at guys like Aiden Ross or some of these other guys that got like banned from Twitch or YouTube. Steve will do it. Like a lot of these guys, right? Like they made their career off of being as edgy as possible, right? To the point where they say like the N-word and they like, praise like weirdo shit like Nick Fuentes and stuff. But ultimately they all have this persona that plays into their brand. Oscar De La Hoya is the fucking, he runs Golden Boy. Like, this is like fucking the owner of Apple coming out and being like, oh, I'm about to fucking diss everybody in the game. Microsoft, you're a bitch. Like, what? Dude, this isn't the guy that I want in charge of a fucking multi-million-dollar operation that's handling millions and millions and millions in fighter contract, promotion, sponsorship, like all these different things. First of all, and oh man, I'm going to sound like a dick. I'm going to sound like a dick. First of all, I don't have a college degree. People need to know that about me. Yes, I went to college. I left college because I got hired for a website. I was always going to go back, and then TBV hired me full time, and my boxing career took off. But I don't have a college degree, and I don't think that having a college degree makes you smarter than anyone or not. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's like a lot of things that go into it, right? Steve Kim famously, had I think he didn't drop out because he dropped out. I think it was like something to do with his family or something like that. But, this is a guy who comes off, he's educated, right? And he knows the sport and he delivers it well, right? This is what I am saying. I am saying you do need experience though, right? In fact, I would bet that somebody who like didn't go to like college and get their MBA, but spent like as soon as they were 18 or 17, like intern for a company and like was able to like find inroads, like their experience is going to matter so much more than, microeconomics class and, macroeconomics class, and again, I'm not shitting on college degrees or anything like that. I'm just saying They're not the end all be all. That said, again, it's not that De La Hoya doesn't have a MBA. It's that De La Hoya spent a lot of his formative years being a fighter. And sure, you can learn about the business. You can learn about, the ins and outs, from a fighter's position. That said, I mean, it's a different ball game when you're running a company and you're running a promotion. I think that the Ring was very fair asking those questions. And not only that, I think that it was very fair to draw certain assumptions, right? And like they could have gone farther if they wanted, right? Like Hop could have gone farther if he wanted, and he didn't. He held back. Why? Because this isn't a stance he's taking like morally. He's presenting the information that we have. And again, some of it speaks louder than others. And yeah, all I know is there was a rift. There was a rift, and it happened before the Boots fight. I can't say what it is. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed. All I'm saying is that none of this feels sudden. I mean, the defense that Verge was playing in that interview alone should speak volumes. His body language said way more than his words did, I think, in that interview. But I think it goes back to what Cop said. Right. And it reminds me of that Batman line. I mean, it's art. It's like poetry, dude. You know what I mean? It's like you live long enough. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. And that's Golden Boy. And that's what Cop did. He put the fucking finger on the pulse of the situation. Okay. And he said, wait, look at what's going on here, because he acknowledged Golden Boy has been around forever. For like Pepsi didn't just become Pepsi, right? They didn't just become the number 2 to Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola's biggest rival. That's not what happened. They were around in the game for a really long time. Specific marketing campaigns took place in the 80s, I think. I forgot, whatever. And then like the Jet commercial thing. And it was a lot of different aspects that made Pepsi Coca-Cola the rivalry that it became, and I guess is today. I have no idea. That said, Golden Boy did it like completely different, right? They came in and they fucking bulldozed the game, bro. They bulldozed the game. They made people make room for them. And De La Hoya was very crafty with this, and so was Richard Schaefer. Or maybe it was Richard Schaefer all along. But either way, both of them were very crafty with it. They weren't stingy. It didn't seem like De La Hoya was going to be one of those Bob Arum promoters. He's giving points to the biggest fighters that come over, right? Bernard Hopkins, Mosley. They even tried to work that deal out with Pacquiao as well. And all the while, De La Hoya is selling this idea that, it's the fighters that are in charge of the promotion in a sense. I mean, obviously they're not the ones that are, doing the job, but they're at the end of the day, an equal voice in the direction of the company. And somewhere along the lines that all changed, right? Somewhere along the lines that all changed, or it never was that way. And we were just being sold on an idea that, was ultimately always about positioning yourself as the number 1, right? Because this is what I've learned in boxing over the last 20 years. It is so easy to be the number 3 or number 4 or number 5 promoter in America and point at the big guys and say, you don't make the fights we want to see. You're keeping all your best fighters in easy, soft touch matchups. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, but then, Kathy Duva gets herself a Kovalev and, we don't get the fucking fight with Stevenson. You know what I'm saying? Like, all I'm saying is that, like, it's easy to point when you're at the bottom, at the top, and be like, y'all are not doing things the right way, right? But the truth is, everybody in that position ultimately plays it out the same way, right? They try to squeeze their fighter for everything they got. Look, you could argue that, De La Hoya is trying to get the maximum amount of what Verge is worth. And you could make the argument that it's De La Hoya that's truly championing for Verge. because he knows his true worth and he's not going to settle unless he gets it. However, you could also make the argument that De La Hoya doesn't believe in Verge and that he thinks he'll lose to Boots and he isn't done squeezing out whatever money he can squeeze out. You know, we've seen what happened with guys like Rocha and the Golden Boy, not safeguards. What's the word? The structure or the foundation of Golden Boy is the cracks are there and they've been there and they've been huge cracks. But because De La Hoya has meant so much in the sport of boxing, he's never really relegated his place in it. I think it was Eric Raskin today wrote an article on Boxing Scene basically saying, no, actually it wasn't him. It was Bag. I think it was Bag that did it. Let me look. I think I saved it. Bookmarks. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was Jim Bag. Jim Bag wrote it. But it's about, okay, so I'm going to read you all the title. The old guard of Boxing Network is gone. The old guard of promoters is next. Wait, the old guard of Boxing Networks is gone. The old guard of promoters is next. The fuck does that even mean? Okay, no, this is a good article, by the way. The byline is Eric Raskin, but Eric himself said that Jim Bag wrote this. Why would it stay under his byline, though? Anyway, okay, so I just going to read it a little bit, okay? A professional boxer's career is only meant to last so long. We know this. We expect the pound-for-pound list and the superstar strata of the sport to turn over every 5 to 10 years. But it's different for those non-pugilistic participants in and out of the ring. Trainers, managers, referees, judges, journalists, those are careers that can easily stretch 30, 40, 50 years. Even so, all things must end eventually. All old guards must give way to new guards. And on two particular fronts right now in American boxing, the old guard is flirting with the end shift. Actually, one of those fronts is already clocked out, which is playing no small role in the other hobbling towards the exit. Remember boxing on TV? Dude, we just talked about this too. Remember, what was it? Yes, I think it was yesterday. I was just talking about this. I was saying how like there's boxing's not on TV anymore. It's gone. It's been gone. And if you go and you try to find boxing on terrestrial cable today, what you're going to find is, you know, old HBO reruns on Time Warner's channel. You're going to, Warner Brothers channel. You're going to find, what else? You're going to find like DAZN channel, right? In like regional fights in like Germany and the UK, you know what I mean? Like, but that's it. You know what I mean? For decades, HBO, Showtime, and ESPN kept the sport's blood pumping steadily into the living rooms nationwide. But one by one, the executives running those networks or the honchos and the parent companies of those networks making commands from the comfort of their yachts lost interest in boxing. Yeah. Also, I like Jimmy Bag. He's good. He's a very he calls it like it is, right? I like that. New corporate overlords laid HBO boxing to rest in October 2018. A similar crew of country club VIPs who lived their lives one stock quote at a time, axed Showtime Boxing at the end of 2023. And finally, the suits at ESPN, or the Disney suits those suits report to, caught wind of the trend and got out of the boxing business last July. Note, the author contributed in the past as a freelancer for boxing. Oh, yeah, he wrote for HBO and Showtime as well. Jimmy did. Wait, Jimmy did? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. He wrote for both. For most of this century, it's been that MMA would kill boxing. In the end, it wasn't MMA that killed televised boxing. It was M&A. I love that. That was a good fucking line, dude. Good job, Jimmy. That was a good one. Although, yes, MMA may have executed a takedown before those mergers and acquisitions forced the submission. That was what M&A stood for, is mergers and acquisitions. Clever. I like it. It was clever. Yeah, if you want to go to Boxing Scene, this is the article that I'm reading. It's up there. It's under Eric Raskin's name. He's on the byline, but he didn't write the article. There's still plenty of boxing to watch on streaming networks, free and otherwise, from Pro Box TV to DAZN, beginning this week, Paramount Plus. Note, Boxing Scene and Pro Box are both owned by Gary Jonas. But boxing has been stripped of its linear title. As a result, the US-based promoters we all grew up with are in the process of becoming the next casualty. Some of them fell to the fringes several years ago. It's been a little while since anyone thought of either Don King Productions or Main Events as a promotional powerhouse. But now the rest appear to be crumbling. The holy trinity of American boxing promoters over the last decade plus have been Top Rank, where the plus in decade plus is going a lot of work. Wait, where the plus in decade plus is doing a lot of the work. Oh, he's saying because Top Rank's been around way longer. Golden Boy and PBC. As 2026 dawned, there's a legitimate reason for concern about whether any of these three companies will last the year. A shift took place around the turn of the century that saw networks acting more like promoters and promoters acting more like managers. And somewhere along the lines, promoters became more reliant on networks to fund their business. Damn, that was a good fucking paragraph. Listen to this shit he said again. A shift took place around the turn of the century that saw networks acting like promoters. Check. And promoters acting like managers. Check. And somewhere along the line, the promoters became reliant on the networks to fund their business. As it stands, none of those three major networks, as it stands, none of those three American promoters have a network partner, unless you count a streamer that primarily works with you on pay-per-views, in which it assumes no financial risk. That's PBC. Top Rank had ESPN. It doesn't anymore. PBC had Showtime. It doesn't anymore. Golden Boy had HBO and then DAZN. It definitely doesn't have HBO anymore, and it might not have DAZN anymore, pending ongoing and not especially encouraging negotiations. Pending ongoing and not especially encouraging negotiations. By the way, I take no pleasure in discussing the potential demise of any of these companies. I know and admire people employed by all three and hope not to see any of them hurting for jobs. But the facts are the facts. Top Rank still has a loaded stable of fighters, fully as and or co-promoted, including Inoue, Tyson Fury, Teofimo, blah, 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 blah. But where are you going to watch them ply their trade if you can't make it to the arena? We are approaching 6 months since a network kicked in for a Top Rank card. Free Facebook streams and Fubu are fine for fans, but they are very much not long-term solutions. Zayas faces Barao at Coliseo de Puerto Rico, Jose Miguel Argla in San Juan, less than 2 weeks, and the Top Rank website was, still listed to be announced. It was already announced they're going to be on Facebook or wherever they've been. As for PBC, the company website lists such championship level fighters as Mario Barrios, blah, blah, blah. While that page assuredly needs some updating, while the page needs updating and couldn't be more depressing, there are no fights listed, just the words "new fight schedule coming soon." Just a couple of months after Showtime's boxing program got kiboshed, PBC announced with much fanfare and excitement its replacement arrangement with Amazon Prime. But in 2024 and 2025 combined, there were just 12 Prime cards, one every 2 months on average, and 8 of them were on pay-per-view, meaning Prime subscriptions got you one boxing card every 6 months. This has not been the audacious, productive leap into the streaming future that anyone in the sport hoped for. Jeff Bezos has about as much money as 2,500 Al Haymans, but apparently he isn't interested in earmarking even a rounding error's worth of that fortune for boxing. Then there's Golden Boy. The roster is not as strong as it once was, but it still includes Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez, Oscar Collazo, blah, blah, blah. But once Raul Curiel defeats late sub Jordan Pantheon last Friday, my bad, in Palm Beach, there wasn't a single fight left on the Golden Boy schedule. Garcia faces Barrios next month, but that pay-per-view event is being promoted by Rider Season, not Golden Boy. Golden Boy's contract with DAZN expired at the end of 2025, and the Curiel card was reported by boxing writer Dan Rayfeld to be a one-off. Austin Eloy has since said he's in the process of negotiating a 2-year extension with DAZN. In the meantime, the boxing fan base is growing exasperated by what seems to be Oscar standing in the way of Ortiz Jerome Boots Ennis. And Ortiz has grown exacerbated enough to file a lawsuit against Golden Boy. And DAZN is reported to be counting on Ortiz Ennis getting done to make him continue to work with Golden Boy worthwhile. So it may be as black and white as Golden Boy makes the deal for this fight, even if it's not the best deal De La Hoya and his frustrated fighter can possibly get. Or Golden Boy has nobody to televise his fights, and before long, there is no Golden Boy. Turkey Al Sheik's General Entertainment Authority-backed Rider Season ring conglomerate has been throwing its money and influence around for a few years, and Dana White Zuffa Boxing is about to be doing the same. Turkey executed a game plan we've seen plenty of times before, most recently with PBC, overpay the fights to make a splash, benefiting the boxers in the short term and shaking up the pay scale in an unsustainable way. It's typically good for the sport and the fans until it isn't. Man, this is such a good article, and he's so right. This is exactly what happened. Remember, guys, like, HBO started paying crazy money for Al Heyman fights, right? Showtime did the same. And then the market became so inflated with unrealistic purses that, you know, it just, there's no future in it, right? Like short term, yes, Turkey made a splash. But if your long-term goal is to make money, I haven't seen the blueprint for it yet and how you get it done. I mean, you can put all these shows on and get attractions, but it's like, I don't know, dude. Look, if you don't know, they're meeting right now. They're going to vote today. I think today or tomorrow on the Ali Act. And then once it passes that, I think it's the full House vote after that, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, they're very close. They're very close. That's going to get done. It's going to change boxing. Probably not like any way that's super noticeable right away. But depending on Zuffa and how they work and you know, do all that, it's, I don't know. It could change a lot. It could change a whole lot. That said, oh wait, so okay. In this case, the long range plan may be required, but exemplified by such looking to guarantee the junior middleweight X dollars to fight each other, but Turkey once had them believing the pot was about 2 times the money. Oh, okay. I see what he's saying. So in this case, the longer range plan may actually be quite diabolical. As exemplified by the potential obstructions to Ortiz Ennis, Golden Boy and Matchroom Boxing are looking to guarantee the junior middleweights X dollars to fight each other. But Turkey once had them believing the pot was about 2 times dollars. That's the kind of simple math that just might make a fighter want to leave his promoter. Meanwhile, Zuffa signing cruiserweight champ. So basically, like what he's saying is like De La Hoya's trying to use Boots and Verge to get a better deal with DAZN, right? And he doesn't need Verge out here looking thirsty for the fight. That's not me talking shit. I'm saying like this is how De La Hoya I think sees it, right? It's like if you go in to buy a car and you bring somebody with you, the last thing you need them saying is, look, there's the one you want. Remember the one you said you'd pay anything for? Remember when you said, oh my God, I'd pay twice the amount that this is for? That's it. Look, you're like, you don't want that, right? And so if Verge is in a situation where he's making it seem like he'll take anything, the zone's going to want to give him anything. Meanwhile, Zuffa signing cruiserweight champion Jay Obatai last week may be a bigger development than it seemed at first glance. The Dana White stable, all club fighters, prospects, and fringe contenders out of the gate, now has itself a boxer who matters on the world stage. Zuffa Box started with a streaming deal with Paramount Plus before it had a stable, but it's going to have a stable too. Well, not that anyone wasn't taking White's entry into boxing seriously, but his ascent becomes inevitable if he has top flight fighters on call. Callum Walsh versus Ocampo this Friday in the promotion's debut on Paramount is a fine fight, but on its own, it's more whisper than scream. White probably recognizes, though, that he doesn't need to scream just yet. Not if the old guard of promotions is about to go silent on its own. Championship level fighters looking for an American promoter are about to become as common as cauliflower ears in the UFC locker rooms. These developments all intersect and overlap. The old guard loses its TV access and the money that comes with it, while a new guard comes in waving silly amounts of money around. And before you know it, the old guard is gone. No HBO, no Showtime, no ESPN. Soon, perhaps Top Rank, no Golden Boy, no PBC. Blink at the wrong time, and the world you once know becomes unrecognizable. Well said, Mr. Jimmy. Of course, nothing lasts forever, and change is inevitable. Fill in the sands of time, cliche of your choosing, but it's alarming to consider the rapid and extreme nature of the overhaul and to ponder how much is owed to a handful of mergers, acquisitions, and new bosses who could see no point in broadcasting boxing if it wasn't going to boost their year-end bonuses. The hell? And then it gives Eric Raskin's bio at the end. I don't get what's going on. Why are they making it seem like, and then by the way, and Eric Raskin posted on Twitter or on X. He said, new boxing scene column on changing of the guard atop the boxing business. And to any of my friends at Top Rank, PBC, or Golden Boy unhappy about this one, please direct your ire toward Jim Bag, as he actually wrote this under my byline. All right. Well, cool, I guess. I don't know what to say about that. Bro, stop it. All right. So that was a lot. Yeah, that's a lot to consider for sure. Jimmy's definitely right. He's on the right track. And none of this is looking good, you know. I think that we'll like I said, we'll probably likely end up getting, I think, hopefully the Boots Verge fight in some form or the other, but is that just a band-aid on a much bigger issue? And if they don't get it done, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean for the company? What does that mean for Verge? Like, are we going to go from a Verge's or Boots's potential star-making night into like the ratifying of both of their fucking careers? I don't know, dude. I don't know. All I know is that was the final boxing topic. Get into a couple wrestling topics here real quick. Bret Hart's back at it, talking shit again. God, I love this guy. He's the best, dude. Bret Hart never lets you down. All right. Never lets you down. And he did it again. He did it again. Let me put this bad boy up. Look. Wait. The hell? This wasn't the one I wanted. Hitman dominates. Bret Hart destroys Dean Malenko. What does that mean? Well, we're going to read it. We're going to read it together. All right. So, Bret Hart, just a few days ago or a week ago, I think it was, went on his first new rant of the year. And boy, was it good. But was it fair? That's going to be the question. So I'm going to read this real quick. So a new year, a new rant from WWE icon Bret Hart on, wait, let me do this instead. Nope, that's not going to work. That'll work. All right. So Bret Hart, new year, new shit talking. So this person question. Okay, so speaking to Inside the Ropes, Hart said, I find out that Eric, now he's talking about a story, right? He's talking about WCW, this is about Kevin Nash, but he's about to shit on Dean Malenko. So speaking to Inside the Ropes, Hart said, I find out that Eric Bischoff goes on a hiatus. He takes about a month off from WCW in the middle of nowhere and goes to France. He goes all the way over to France on a vacation with his wife or something. I like how he says or something, alluding to the fact that Eric Bischoff may have been having an affair. Like zero evidence. Bret's just gonna fucking throw it out there. He's the best. He goes all the way over to France, blah, 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 and he leaves Kevin Nash in charge. And this is about 3 weeks before the show in Toronto. I remember telling Eric and then Kevin Nash the next day that Eric has the big angle for Toronto with me and Bill Goldberg, but he told me not to tell. He said, don't tell anybody what we're doing. Keep it. The only ones that need to know about this idea are me, you, and Bill. That's it. So don't tell anybody. So Kevin Nash is now the booker for 2 or 3 weeks, and he tells me something that has always struck me. Kevin Nash wanted me to lose to Dean Malenko in just a match on TV. I remember, okay, wait, let me reread this. Kevin Nash is now the booker for 2 or 3 weeks, and he tells me something that has always struck me. Kevin wanted me to lose to Dean Malenko in just a match on TV. I remember just going like, you jobbed me out to Dean Malenko, who's like 2 feet tall. I beat Austin. I beat Vince McMahon. I beat all these guys in WWF. And at this time, you're going to have Dean Malenko, all 3 feet of him, beat me right in the middle, like 12 minutes or something. I remember going, it's insane. I remember telling Kevin, I said, I don't want to do it. I've never refused ever job. I never refused to ever job for anybody, including Dean Malenko, but they ended up sticking me in there with some other wrestler that I beat that night. But I remember telling Kevin, he goes, well, what is this big angle that you're doing? And I said, well, I can't tell you because Eric told me not to tell anyone. So anyway, for the next 3 weeks, Kevin did his best to kill me off on TV. Oh, Kevin Nash did his best to kill me off on TV until we got to Toronto. But luckily, if you remember that time period, I did that promo the week before I got to Toronto. I remember that day was somewhere in Florida, and they said, you're off. You don't have anything. You're off the whole show. And I told Kevin Nash, who is in charge of for that last week, and Bischoff was coming back the next week, I said, you can't beat me in the middle of the ring tonight. You can't. And Eric's the only one that knows what we're doing. Yeah. So he just shit all over Dean Malenko in the interview. I don't even think he means to do stuff like this. I really don't. I think that he just can't help himself, right? Bret and Dean Malenko are like 2 of my favorite wrestlers of all time, right? And they should have had some sort of angle or work together. But this is like the one time I'm going to like disagree with Bret, I think. It's kind of fucked up for Bret Hart, the guy who was basically had the rug pulled from under him, right? Had his spot taken because the promoter loved big guys. He loved big men. In more ways than one, we found out. And so, because of Vince's love for big men, guys like Bret and Shawn, who should have had opportunities before they ended up getting their opportunities, it wasn't until Vince had to, do damage control for all the steroids that were going on in WWE. It wasn't until he was, in court and facing, a pretty serious situation that he decided, you know what? Let's give the smaller guys a shot here. Bret, you know what? You're our guy. And you know what the funny thing about this is too? Bret was jacked. So was Shawn. They were both jacked. And yet, because so much juice was just flowing through the veins of the roster in those days, yeah, they looked like small guys. I mean, they weren't giants, right? They weren't like, 6'4", crazy shit like that. But it's just, I hate to say this about Bret. I really do. It hurts me to say this, but it's just a little hypocritical, right? To say, oh, Dean Malenko's too small to beat me, but you weren't too small to beat Hogan. You weren't too small to beat Yokozuna. You weren't unmuscular enough to beat Lex. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all like, none of this really works that way. And then it's like, you look at the work that Dean Malenko was capable of, right? This is the man, they called this man the man of 1,000 holds, right? This is like the premier mat technician. And, all the work that Bret did with Perfect, I don't know. It just seems like hater shit to me. The guy who never got his chance because the entire locker room was roided out to the gills, and here he comes all these years later and shits on a guy that is like supposed to beat him, but he's like 3 feet tall and he's too small. Like, I don't know. Just seems hypocritical to me. Anyway. Oh, fuck. You know what, guys? I'm going to have to come back. We're going to have to do the rest of the show later on Twitch and X. Yeah, I'm going to have to run. Damn it. Well, we'll get to the Gaethje Pimblett card later. The Sean O'Malley. Okay, so like, you know what? We'll do the full breakdown on Friday. I'll do a Friday show with the full breakdown, but we'll talk about it tomorrow though, or tonight or tomorrow. Basically the topic for me, the like main topic is, you know, who's got the biggest weight on their shoulders this week. You know, you could say it's Justin Gaethje being in a position where he's 37 years old and he is, you know, closer to the end of his career. You know, people think he's ripe for the taking right now, while Patty is, you know, heading towards his prime or possibly in his prime. Although Patty Pimblett's 31 years old, so it's not like he's a, you know, spring chicken. But Patty, you know, also a guy who is on the fringe of being a potential superstar, right? Maybe not to the likes of Conor McGregor, but maybe something, you know, under that, which would still be very successful. And Patty's on that verge. A big win on the Paramount card could place him in a very favorable position. That said, I think the guy that has the most heat on him this week is Sean O'Malley. Now, Sean O'Malley is coming into this fight with Song Yadong. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, he's coming into this fight, and he's lost his last two. You know, Marab beat him back to back. The last one was, you know, pretty. It was dominant. They were all dominant, really. But, you know, at the end of the day, Sean O'Malley still holds a very high commercial appeal. And because of that, he cannot afford to lose a third fight. Something that a lot of people have been talking about. Shout out to, who was it? Fuck. Let me see. Oh shit. I think it was Luke Thomas said it. I think it was Luke Thomas that said it, but he said basically, you know, a lot of other people were saying that the UFC is in a position right now where they're going to try to push a lot of American fighters. We saw the Adesanya card, or the Adesanya matchup that got made. You know, you got like the number 5 versus like the number 14 or something crazy, right? And it's not to say matchups like that don't happen and shouldn't happen. It's to say that, you know, but anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that the UFC is very desperate for American stars, right? The pound for pound list in MMA has not been the most American list in the last decade or last half decade for sure. There are a lot of people in the UFC, or maybe TKO, I should say, that believe that UFC's potential or ceiling is capped when there is no American, you know, premier fighter. So for Sugar Sean, he can't afford to lose a third fight, but he can afford to be on this stage and not come through with the win, right? Patty can lose and rebuild. If Sean loses, then you start to question, what is a rebuild worth? And when you get to that territory, that's cash out territory in MMA. Cash out territory in boxing and MMA are similar, but they're just different in a way. And the way they're different is that, you know, MMA doesn't need to cash you out against somebody who is capable of filling that spot. You know, they need to cash out somebody in a sense that they're willing to, you know, like anybody could be the star, right? especially if you have like a great performance, a crazy knockout, awesome sub, right? And you do it against a big enough name, that tracks. But listen, we're going to go over that. We'll go over the Muratalla fight too tomorrow. I wanted to do the watch along, but you know what? We'll do it tonight. We'll do it tonight. I'll be back later in the evening. If you didn't get to hit that like, didn't hit that sub, please do now. Do so now. And if you could share, that would be great. Infighting FX on YouTube, Twitch, IG, and TikTok. Infighting FX spelled INFIGHTING FX. And yeah, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Shout out to everybody in the comments. Shout out to Cop, who was on earlier. Shout out to Machine Gun Matt. Shout out to Shoeshine for jumping on. That's the homie there. Let me see. Noe G in Dallas. Shout out to you. What's going on, champ? Oh, Cornflake was on. Shout out to Cornflake. Jesto. Shout out to him too. Yeah, champs. But we will be back later. And yeah, until then, peace.